Greetings and welcome to TFT Tarot for today, Divine Dabblings with Oberon and Banshee. This is me, Oberon, with my Friday show, The Outlook on the Emotional Exchanges. And it is a reading about relationships or emotional resonances that are found between relationships. I've recently moved the focus away from the astrological kind of aspects, doing a reading for each sign, sun, moon, or rising as that zodiac sign. I'm now doing it in a more simplified form where I'm looking at the individual as either a single person who may or may not be at all interested in a relationship with a person, but perhaps there are other things that they have emotional relationships with, situations or objects or things. Maybe they're a collector of a certain kind of item and they really are devoted to that kind of thing. But I also do the reading for singles, seeking those who are seeking a relationship, no matter what their actual status quo as a relationship is. We don't ask questions. So for those who are seeking a relationship, there's a portion that applies to them. And then finally, for those who are settled in their relationship, they are in a relationship and whatever is agreed upon, but this is kind of looking like maybe perhaps with the singles, other things in a relationship that are emotionally rewarding or interesting to you that you would want to know about, highlight, etc. So for example, maybe as a couple, you would be more interested in going to participate in a particular social activity, that kind of thing. But we're going to start off first of all with a reading from the Universal Love Oracle by Tony Carmine Salerno, and I like it as a card for the collective. And the card is the Gateway. A chapter in your life is coming to a close. Surrender it graciously and with love. Trust. All is held eternally within our hearts, as the natural cycles of life take their course. Remember that spring always follows winter. Time is a gateway. Allow its precious beauty to pour into your heart. If there is sadness at this time, remember, as a new chapter unfolds, love guides in all things. And that's beautiful. And that was once again the Gateway. Universal Love by Tony Carmine Salerno. And I have a number of Tony's other works, also in collaboration with other artists that do mystic or New Age kind of, teachings. All right, so as I mentioned before, the new format is for singles, seeking, or settled. And basically this involves several questions that we ask or I ask, and of course the idea is each of those categories may relate differently. That's why there are different cards for them. So the deck I use as usual is the Modern Love Tarot. It's drawn by Lucy Morningstar. Beautiful deck, put out by Ethany. I never know for sure if Ethany is an actual person or the company name. I suppose I could read the box more. Anyway, And I'm glad I have this little side table to work with. So I've noticed with both Banshee and my programs that there can be a little bit unstable camera view from time to time where the table wobbles or something is shaking and the camera view will correspondingly shake. Okay, so the first question is, how can I be better at communicating my feelings? All right, for singles, it's the Seven of Pentacles. You can be better at communicating your feelings, perhaps, singles. And remember, singles are not necessarily looking for a relationship, but they are interested in the things that are emotionally joyful, content-wise to them. So when a singles wants to communicate their feelings better, it may be like realizing that there are some things that you hold back, that you don't tell everybody, that maybe are held in reserve. The Seven of Wands maybe suggests that, sometimes it is time to play your hand, and sometimes it is not. And so this would be saying, in that sense, less is more. You maybe don't even have to really worry incredibly about that. Now, how about for those who are seeking a relationship? How can you be better at communicating your feelings? And it's the Nine of Cups. And I think what that's saying is you have to be able to express the joy in your life, the fondness or enjoyment of what you appreciate. The Nine of Cups talks about, being very much comfortable, satiated, whatever you want to call that, with what they like in their life. And so it's a lot about sensual pleasures, but it's very much emotionally related as well, obviously. So for singles, maybe you communicate your feeling by being open to the idea of possibilities of things happening based on wishes, desires, etc. And then for those who are settled, how can you be better at communicating your feelings? And it's the Sun. So you can do no wrong, basically. You can be better at communicating your feelings by realizing that the sun shines everywhere, that it doesn't just shine on your world, it shines on the worlds of everyone we know or have ever known or ever will know, or that everyone has ever known, etc. So realizing that we are all one in some respect. If you are settled in your relationship, but you are emotionally kind of vibing to something, or as a couple you are, or in a relationship, remember that there's a great deal to share, and remember that there's a great deal to know. So be interested in people, be interested in situations. Use the power of the sun to illuminate all those areas in the life. All right, so that was our first question, not bad. And our second question is what you seek available? And so what that means, no matter what kind of relationship status you may have, single, seeking, or settled, is there this person or thing you want, are they actually available, or is it appropriate or not that you might want to intrude into a relationship or situation where maybe somebody else already has something going on? Is what you seek available? And for singles, it's the reversed Queen of Wands. And I could say that maybe I would interpret that as saying that maybe whatever that is, whether it is possibly a relationship with somebody for any number of reasons, or just a situation or thing you want to have, or You want to know if it's available. This sort of looks more contrary. This sort of looks like maybe this is saying really you might have to bide your time. Maybe now is not the time. That the Queen of Wands is an energy that really can't be stopped in a way, but it may be possible that it can be momentarily delayed or somewhat delayed. And so maybe this card is suggesting that right now things aren't the way you want them, and that maybe what you want to do is work on your own sense of charisma or confidence, or knowing, the situation better, so you could say it is appropriate that I move towards that, or that I seek that. All right, so if you are seeking a relationship, no matter your own, how can you, is what you seek available? And bam, it's the Seven of Cups. It just seems like really an incredible amount of things are available to you if you are seeking a relationship that may be specific to what you desire. But this could be saying really, for a person seeking a relationship, whether or not they are already in one, maybe this is saying, you really are very open to the idea of all kinds of relationships for all kinds of reasons. So in other words, this is not necessarily about a sexual or emotional affair or relationship. It could be about any number of kind of things that you might desire. And then if you are settled in a relationship, is what you seek available? And it's the reversed Nine of Wands. And I'm going to say that it probably is available. It may be the kind of situation where there are factors that involve anxiety or upsetness, or people who are kept awake at night kind of thing, pondering certain issues in their lives. And so if what you seek is available, the Nine of Wands, this could be saying also to you may be something that can make a difference for somebody, that maybe you're able to add some healing or emotional good vibes with a person or that situation. Maybe, if you're already settled in a relationship, maybe it's a matter of bringing them into a circle of friends or into a circle of family, making somebody feel like they belong too, like they're not alone. All right, so that was that question. And then we have, for those categories, a final question: how do we set healthy boundaries? And that is in terms of any kind of emotional relationships that we might want to have. I mean, even people who are settled in a relationship may find that they have an unhealthy boundary with overindulgence, or with other kinds of things that somebody might say, well, those are character traits. But how do we affect the boundary system or the limit system when this applies to us? That maybe sometimes we have to set our own standards for certain kinds of emotional involvement. I think these cards kind of match my whole decor here today. I'm wearing a lot of pink, a little bit of purple, or kind of like a burgundy more, and of course all the red that's going on here. Because of course that's the colors of love: pink, red, burgundy. All right, so that final question was, how can I set healthy boundaries? So if you are a single, you may have to set healthy boundaries by creating the proper focus. And the proper focus means coming at a situation with the right amount of integrity and focus, and really saying, this is the right target, and that I am moving in an efficient manner. a lot of times the Eight of Wands talks about full speed ahead and really focusing on the target. I want to temper it a little bit due to the question about healthy boundaries. This could also be saying, too, that maybe we become aware, even as a single person, about how other people, kind of enact in their life. Are other people really rushing to purpose here? Maybe you model behavior for them. All right, so then for those who are seeking a relationship, how do you set healthy boundaries? Oh dear. So I think being prepared for things to not necessarily work out. A lot of times the Tower talks about ego. There are other cards too, but this is saying maybe really you build a house of cards and it didn't have a good foundation in this relationship. You are setting a healthy boundary seeking people by learning the lessons of what caused the fall. Because in the Tower card, it is implied you realize what needs to change or what can be changed. In other words, I think this is saying those who are seeking a relationship may have already figured out what the boundaries are due to past mistakes or are willing to learn from their mistakes. Finally, we move to settled in a relationship. And how do you set a healthy boundary? And it's obvious, no secrets. It's the Seven of Swords reversed. It may be saying specifically that if there are really critical or important things for the other person in your relationship to know, you would certainly tell them. But this also applies to setting the tone or boundaries in other relationships you may have as a couple or relationship of some sort. And that maybe, the idea really, no matter what kind of relationships or situations you have, in addition to that, it's all about keeping things fair and honest between everybody. All right, so we have a final question, and the final question is just one card for all three categories. The final question is, how can we each contribute to being unconditionally in love or caring for the world, the human race, humanity, our neighbors, the people we work with, other people we know but we're not very known to them? How do we find compassion and universal love within ourselves or to display in those kind of relationships or situations? And of course, this is a weekly question, as all the other ones were, so most of this will mostly pertain to this week ahead or thereabouts. It may be that, other times we need other kinds of energies to work with here. So we help with universal love by being the Knight of Wands, by being brave and confident and willing, to move ahead on situations that involve, proper relationships with people, respect for enterprise, respect for networking, and really about expressing positive values. This is not about somebody who's macking on somebody else's relationship. This is somebody that supports other people in their relationships. We are all in need of being a beneficent and helpful knight. And that knight is male or female. It's not necessarily a male persona. It's just that energy of moving forward with, dignity, strength, and confidence, charisma, bravery. Wow, everyone. That was really awesome. I hope you thought so. So don't forget that tomorrow, on the 11th, we don't have a happy hour because we're over at Arts and Crafts on the other side of state, Hartford, Michigan. If you're nearby, they're having their annual spring psychic fair. So we will be there with a bevy of other readers. Come on and check it out. It's a great store too. They have awesome merchandise and other kinds of services. So that's Arts and Craft in Hartford, Michigan. However, on Sunday, we are back for our shows, the Banshees Material Matters, where we hang out in the chat room and listen to Banshees reading. It's for the signs of the zodiac, and it's the best practices in business for the signs. Check it out. It's a weekly review. And then later, we're back for the live stream again, and that's from 2 to 4 p.m. Remember that all our times are Eastern Standard. We'd love to see you, so come on down. And I hope everybody has a wonderful week. We'll see you next time for more emotional exchanges. Bye-bye.